Mulder's chart, above, helps to simplify understanding the interactions between plant nutrients. Some elements work in synergy. They stimulate the uptake of other elements and increase their availability, while some elements are antagonistic. They interfere with the uptake or availability of other nutrients. Put simply, high levels of a particular nutrient can interfere with the availability and uptake of other nutrients. The nutrients which interfere with one another are referred to as antagonistic. For example, high nitrogen levels can reduce the availability of boron, potassium and copper. High phosphorus levels can reduce the availability of iron, calcium, potassium, copper and zinc, and high potassium levels can reduce the availability of magnesium and calcium. For this reason, unless care is taken to ensure an adequate and balanced supply of all nutrients, too much nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, and others, in fertilizers/nutrients can induce plant deficiencies of other essential elements. Stimulation. Stimulation occurs when the high level of a particular nutrient increases the demand by the plant for another nutrient. For example, increased nitrogen levels create a demand for more magnesium. If more potassium is used, then more manganese is required, etc. Although the cause of stimulation is different from antagonism, the result is the same: induced deficiencies in the plant if it is not supplied with balanced nutrition. The importance of understanding plant-nutrient interactions. Some hydroponic growers use staggering amounts of nutrients and additives, which can potentially change the nutrient values to such a degree that the food being provided to the plant becomes highly imbalanced. As a result, antagonism and/or stimulation occurs. The end result being nutrient deficiencies and lower yields. For this reason, it is important to consider just what additives you are using and what they are contributing with regards to nutrient elements in the working solution. For instance, many growers use excessive levels of pK additives for far too long. This can result in a range of deficiencies. That is, excessive phosphorus will reduce the availability of iron, calcium, potassium, nitrogen, copper and zinc. This is particularly true of the microelements iron, copper and zinc. What this means is that the overuse of phosphorus in solution will potentially starve out other important nutrients/elements that are required for healthy growth/optimal yields. On the other hand, too much potassium, which is absorbed rapidly from the nutrient solution, will antagonize calcium and magnesium and induces calcium and magnesium deficiencies. Keeping potassium at the appropriate levels in the root zone significantly improves calcium uptake. Large amounts of calcium are required for optimum flower development, while magnesium activates the plant enzymes needed for growth. According to Hanan, the essentiality of a nutrient is based on the element's requirement for the plant to survive and reproduce, often so-called critical level or range. In order to support optimum growth, development and yield of the crop, the fertilizer feed solution has to continuously meet the nutritional requirements of the plants. Low nutrient levels will result in deficiencies, while high concentrated nutrient solutions lead to the potential for excessive nutrient uptake and, therefore, toxic effects may result. This presents a very real problem given some contemporary indoor growing practices. Many people think that more is better when supplying nutrients and additives, and that it is better to have excess nutrients in the solution than levels that are only adequate. This is not necessarily true, and this thinking can potentially lead to serious imbalances in nutrient uptake. See following image of the nutrient response curve. Raviv and Leith's, 2008, Nutrient Response Curve. At low concentration, small increases in nutrient availability results in large changes in growth. Further increase in nutrient has smaller effect on growth as the nutrient level approaches optimal level. At some point additional amounts do not increase growth. This is the range of luxury consumption. At high levels toxicity is reached and growth diminishes. Actually, this one warrants more discussion. See following image. The above image/graph provides a more complex understanding of Raviv and Leith's nutrient response curve, which shows a general crop yield response to fertilizer application. Generally speaking, higher fertilization level gives higher yields, but only up to a certain point. Beyond this point, addition of fertilizers will not increase yields, and may even reduce them as a result of too high levels of nutrient salts in the root zone, which leads to toxicity. Looking at the nutrient response curve, for many nutrients, yield decreases before visible deficiency symptoms become apparent. This is defined as falling within the hidden hunger and/or critical range, where the plants are being underfed but show no visible deficiency symptoms. Because the exact concentration of a nutrient below which yields decline is difficult to determine precisely, some experts define the critical level as the nutrient concentration at 90 or 95% of maximum yield. Coming back to the nutrient response curve, when we increase feed levels we reach a relatively wide sufficiency range where there is enough nutrient to ensure optimal growth. As you can see, there is some degree of tolerance within the sufficiency range where, if say we were in the middle of this range, we could marginally increase or decrease nutrient levels without impairing growth. It is important to note, however, that the reasonable degree of nutritional tolerance only applies to some of the macroelements, N, P, and K, and doesn't apply to the microelements, Cu, Fe, Mo, where even marginally too much or too little of any one microelement can quickly result in a deficiency or excess/toxicity. To stress the point again, the microelements are far more critical in terms of their control and management than most of the macroelements, particularly in hydroponic systems. Most microelement deficiencies can usually be corrected, but when dealing with excesses, toxicity, correction can be difficult, if not impossible. Therefore, care must be taken to ensure that an excess concentration of a microelement is not introduced into the nutrient working solution. Moving into the luxury consumption range, while providing no benefits to growth, this level of nutrition will not impair growth until we provide too much nutrient and, as a result, reach toxicity. Toxicity, in the more complex understanding of Raviv and Leith's nutrient response curve, is broken into incipient toxicity, where nutrients accumulate in the plant tissue to such a degree that they start to become toxic and growth rates begin to decline, and toxicity, where nutrients are supplied at such high levels they are immediately toxic, greatly impairing growth. Last of all we have the lethal range, where nutrients are applied at such a high degree they kill the plant. This one pretty much speaks for itself, albeit toxicity symptoms would typically typically present well before we hit the lethal range, and steps could be taken to prevent plant death.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe.